Most men lose a good woman simply because they think she'll always be there. This sentiment might appear straightforward, but it encompasses a complex interplay of psychological factors, ego, and unfortunately, a degree of male delusion. They often underestimate the emotional labor that goes into maintaining a relationship, mistakenly believing that love is a constant state rather than something that requires attention and nurturing. This mindset can lead to a false sense of security, where the man believes that his partner will always be available, regardless of his actions. As a result, he may take her for granted, failing to recognize that love, like any living thing, needs care and cultivation to thrive. It's not rocket science, it's psychology, with a dash of ego and a pinch of male delusion. A good woman doesn't leave because she stopped loving him. She leaves because he stopped noticing. And that right there, that's the silent killer of relationships. It's the little things that matter, the day-to-day gestures of affection and appreciation that can keep the flame alive. When those gestures fade into the background of routine, the relationship begins to lose its spark, leaving both partners feeling unfulfilled. This gradual decline often goes unnoticed until it's too late, and the woman feels invisible in a relationship that once made her feel valued. Let's break it down. Why do men lose what they claim to love? Because many men confuse consistency with complacency. She texts him every morning. Meh. She checks in when he's stressed. Normal. She supports his dreams more than he does himself. That's just what she does. Wrong. She's not obligated to do any of that. She chooses to. But when a man starts seeing her care as routine rather than a privilege, he begins to underestimate her value. This mindset can create a toxic cycle, where the man feels secure enough to relax his efforts, while the woman feels increasingly unappreciated. Ultimately, this leads to a disconnect, where both partners feel lonely despite being together. See, psychologically speaking, the male brain is wired to chase. Evolution didn't design men to cherish the familiar, it designed them to hunt. But here's the twist. Modern relationships aren't about hunting, they're about maintenance. And guess what? Most men never learn to maintain. They often approach relationships with the same mindset they have when pursuing a goal, an endpoint to reach rather than an ongoing journey to embrace. As a result, they may find themselves unprepared for the commitment required to sustain a long-term partnership. A man will spend 6 months chasing a woman and 0 effort maintaining her trust once he's got her. He thinks, I've secured the prize, mission complete. But love isn't a mission, it's a marathon. Now enter the paradox. The better the woman, the more invisible her efforts become. Why? Because she makes it look easy. She makes being loyal, loving, supportive, and forgiving look like second nature. So, the man assumes she's built that way. This underappreciation can lead to a dangerous complacency, where he fails to see her as anything other than a constant presence in his life. Over time, this can foster resentment, as she feels her contributions are overlooked, while he remains oblivious to the growing chasm between them. Here's a psychological truth bomb. People take for granted what doesn't complain. And good women, they often suffer in silence. She forgives. Again, she listens. Again, she stays. Again, until one day she doesn't, because even the most patient hearts have expiration dates. When a woman finally decides to leave, it often comes as a shock to the man who may have genuinely believed everything was fine. The realization hits hard when he understands that her silent suffering has transformed into a decision to prioritize her own happiness. Let's talk about what makes a man really fall in love. Not lust, not infatuation, not the honeymoon haze. Love, the real thing. It starts with admiration. Men don't fall in love with a woman they pity. They fall in love with women they admire, women who hold boundaries, exude self-respect, and aren't afraid to walk away. Power fact. The more a woman respects herself, the more a man is forced to level up or get out. It's a dynamic that pushes both partners to grow, fostering a relationship built on mutual respect and admiration. This creates a foundation where both individuals feel empowered to express their authentic selves without fear of judgment. So what happens when a man meets a high-value woman and still manages to lose her? Simple. He never saw her as a mirror. A good woman reflects back who a man really is, not who he pretends to be, not his curated Instagram self. She reflects his integrity or lack thereof, his discipline or lack thereof, his emotional maturity or his boyish need for validation. And that reflection, it's either empowering or terrifying. Here's a psychological principle at play: cognitive dissonance. When a man sees himself in a way that conflicts with reality, he experiences inner tension. If he's immature, he'll blame her for triggering it. If he's self-aware, he'll evolve. However, self-awareness requires vulnerability, and many men struggle with that. It's often easier to deflect and criticize rather than confront uncomfortable truths about oneself. But evolution takes effort. And most men? They want the reward without the work. They seek instant gratification rather than embracing the slow and sometimes painful journey of self-improvement. This is why men chase women who don't challenge them and lose the ones who do. It's easier to date someone who flatters your ego than someone who holds up a mirror to your flaws. This dynamic can lead to superficial connections that feel good in the moment, but ultimately lack depth and fulfillment. When faced with a partner who encourages growth, some men may feel threatened, opting instead for relationships that require less introspection. But newsflash, growth isn't comfortable, neither is love. True love stretches you. It exposes your weak points and dares you to become better. That's what a good woman does. She dares a man to be better. Yet, instead of rising, some men run. They run to temporary validation, thinking it's freedom. They run from accountability, thinking it's peace. They run from effort, thinking it's ease. But they always circle back. Not because they miss her specifically, but because life taught them too late that good women are rare. And once she's done, she's done. There's no going back. This regret often hits hard, leading to a cycle of reflection and longing for what was lost. Psychological truth. Women leave emotionally before they leave physically. That's why when she walks away, she doesn't flinch. She already let go months ago while he thought everything was fine. Her emotional detachment serves as a protective mechanism, allowing her to preserve her self-worth in the face of neglect. Now, let's flip the lens. What does a man in love actually look like? He pays attention. He asks questions. He notices when she's quiet, and not just when she's loud. He listens, not to reply, but to understand. He doesn't wait for special occasions to make her feel special. He invests emotionally, mentally, spiritually. He recognizes the little things that matter to her, showing that he values her feelings and perspectives. His attentiveness fosters a sense of security, allowing her to fully express herself without the fear of being dismissed. And most importantly, he fights, not with her, for her. He doesn't see her strength as competition, he sees it as partnership. He doesn't get intimidated by her success, he celebrates it. He doesn't withdraw when she's upset, he leans in. That's not weakness, that's emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is sexy. Period. It creates an environment where both partners can flourish and thrive together, enhancing the bond they share. Now, here's the kicker. Most men can be that guy, but only if they're willing to outgrow the idea that being in love is passive. It's not merely about feelings, It's about actions and choices that reflect those feelings. Being in love is a daily choice. A man doesn't just fall, he decides. Every text he sends, every call he makes, every conversation he starts, every time he chooses to stay instead of walk away. Those are the bricks that build real love. But if he waits until she's already gone to start building, he's building on ruins, and ruins don't come back to life. The foundation of a strong relationship must be laid long before the cracks appear. So, here's your psychological power summary. Good women are mirrors, not fans. Emotional effort isn't optional. Silence doesn't mean satisfaction. Admiration precedes love. Complacency kills connection. And once a woman detaches emotionally, the game is already over. Most men lose a good woman, not because she wasn't enough, but because he never believed he needed to deserve her. And that's the greatest loss of all. It's a heart-wrenching reminder of how easily love can slip away when it's taken for granted.